If you're going into a match you need to win and you're planning on using a shotgun, which one would you pick? There's over 20 of them in the game right now that aren't sunset, and with the recent quick draw nerf, a lot of people have questioned this, so I decided to work with Apathetic to rank all of them for PvP specifically. Appa is an absolute monster with a shotgun, and I'd really appreciate you checking out his content, because if you've learned anything from me, I can promise you he's taught me a lot about how to be better in Crucible, and his opinion is very trustworthy with PvP. Starting with the Astral Horizon, it's important I point out two old-time crucial traits of a shotgun. Number one is the damage per pellet. Number two is the pellet spread RNG. Astral is an aggressive frame shotgun, meaning when you hit someone, you're going to see 22s and 23s for damage on screen. The reason this is important is because it means I only need to land 9 out of those 12 pellets to kill most Guardians. Being able to miss 3 pellets out of the shotgun spread is so crucial in a peer-to-peer game with high movement that aggressives have been king for a long time. Now, for the most part, people have always chased range on shotguns, because as long as they got quick draw, their handling was 100. Bungie decided to try and squash this easy combo on aggressives by replacing quick draw with a different perk called Surplus. Doing this did push a lot more shotguns to be more viable, but Astral in particular remains S tier, and here's why. When evaluating the min-max for handling, it's got a window of 24 to 53 on the Adept version. If we're willing to drop our range down from that 63 to 48, we can have a 53 handling stat. If we land Celerity, that's a bonus 20 for a total of 73 handling. I've done enough tests that having around 80 handling plus Dexterity or ADS mods on your build can actually give you the exact same effects of the old school quick draw. That was without Surplus even being active, so let's assume we landed Opening Shot instead of Celerity. Assume you have 2 stacks of Surplus, which is an extra 25, you're now sitting at 78 handling on average and still doing 22 to 23 damage per pellet. Long story short, the versatility of the Astral Horizon with the stats and perks that you can get keep this thing right at the top in the S tier. Even though I believe Full Choke is still the best barrel to tighten that spread for the better RNG, at least now we're okay if we get Small Bore or Corkscrew, and then the next best option would actually be Barrel Shroud because of the handling boost. Next up is the 7th Seraph CQC-12. It gained a lot of popularity once those aggressives lost the quick draw perk. First off, this is one of the ones that didn't lose quick draw, so people immediately defaulted to looking for shotguns with this perk. But the real benefit here was actually more around the nerf to quick draw. Basically, when you have that perk on a shotgun, it lets you pull it out really quickly, but then after 1 second or ADSing the shotgun, it loses that maximum handling buff and goes back to the native handling stat of your roll. Well, the CQC is a lightweight shotgun, meaning it has a pretty high window for handling at base. In this case, it's 59 to 90. So not only can you get by without quick draw, but if you do happen to have it, once it wears off, you won't really notice it if you've got a lot of handling anyways. The real issue comes with the lightweight archetype. When you shoot someone, you're not going to see those 22s and 23s anymore. You're actually going to be dealing 18 to 19 damage. What this means is out of that 12 pellet shotgun spread, you actually need to hit 11 to kill somebody. As you distance yourself from an opponent, because shotgun spreads go wider and wider with time, it becomes increasingly harder to hit 11 pellets with one shot. Even though lightweights have a way tighter spread than aggressives, it's really difficult when you can only afford to miss one pellet. A lot of people rocking lightweights have to adjust their playstyle around the fact that they're likely going to have to 2-tap whoever it is that they're fighting and not get that nice one-hit kill. This of course works, but ultimately we're rating this one in the B tier for down-to-the-wire game-winning situations. I will admit the speed boost to your character is super noticeable. Like seriously, when you have this thing out, pay attention to how much quicker you feel. Bonechiller is actually a slug shotgun, meaning no pellet spread nonsense, just pure aim for the one projectile that it fires. Or should I say perfect aim? For all of the losers who still hack in this game. You can still hit someone in the body with it, but the key is going for headshots, and slugs have notoriously longer kill distances because of their high damage. Since these are on a whole different wavelength, we're actually giving you 2 tier lists today, and for Bonechiller specifically, when you compare it to the other ones, it's a B tier. Opening shot is amazing on slugs, which this thing can roll, but there's better contenders. Okay, of course, the next one from the hat is Felwinters. This one pisses me off, but in a good way. It has a very special intrinsic trait called Shot Package. What that does is it removes some of that pellet RNG from the mix. Remember how I said there's 12 pellets in a spread earlier? Well, the RNG piece is the fact that an aggressive spread, when you shoot a wall, for example, can actually deviate quite a bit. Sometimes you get lucky and all 12 are super tight together and you'll absolutely map somebody. A moment later, you could feel like you're super close to someone, but you just get unlucky and the pellets go to outer space, meaning you only hit, say, 8 out of the 12 instead of 9, and you don't get the kill. What Shot Package does is just eliminate some of that RNG. Of course, because it's still an outward spread, the further you are from your opponent, the less chance all pellets are going to hit. But the beauty around Shot Package is that it made the pellets come out of the barrel in an identical pattern every time. This helps with consistency a lot. Now that's the really good news. The bad news is that there's no wiggle room on this thing. Once you have it, the stats are the stats. The range is 47. Fortunately, it has opening shot, but 33 handling. Of course, when you have 3 abilities charged, you'll have surplus times 3, which adds 50 handling for a total of 83, and that feels really, really nice. But as soon as you start using some of those abilities, this thing feels incredibly sluggish and it drives me nuts. Using something like Ophidians or Dragon's Shadow, absolutely this thing is S tier without a doubt, but we're trying to rank all shotguns equally for any character or build. So even with dexterity and targeting mods, if you don't have a handling exotic, it just isn't the same as it was before. We ultimately rated this one A tier. Next up is Deicide. I don't even know if I said that right. This is a new shotgun introduced in Season of the Splicer. It's a rapid fire archetype, meaning you'll only see 16 to 17 for damage on screen. This effectively forces you to hit all 12 out of 12 pellets to kill a Guardian. It's incredibly frustrating when you're trying to play with it, and what's really crazy here is that for some reason, rapid fire shotguns don't even have a uniquely high handling window. Bungie, you should literally just crank these things out to 100 or something. I don't know, but like they need something going for them. Your playstyle pretty much has to revolve around 2-tapping everyone you want to kill with this thing, and that's incredibly annoying when you only spawn in with 2 special. Lastly, looking at the 4th column perks, it almost looks like this one wasn't actually intended for PvP. We rated this one D tier. Oh, can someone say Roadborne? We have an absolute montage from Appa here. Good old Chaperone. If I could get DFP on the microphone for this, I would just do that. But for those new, this is another slug shotgun and essentially held the throne forever. It's got an insane one-hit kill distance, like 13 meters or something. Don't actually quote me on that because I didn't go and test this one specifically, but just know that while all slugs crush spread shotguns in the one-hit kill potential because of their precision damage, this was the king, especially because once Roadborne was active after a kill, the damage boost makes it so you can snipe people from like 17 or 18 meters. Again, don't quote me on that, but it's crazy. It's hilariously strong when your aim is on point that day, and it's very deserving of S tier on the slug board. Okay, this one's another rapid archetype. The Ikelos SGV 1.0.2. A billion other text characters. We were both not a fan of this thing at all. Out of all 3 rapids, it technically has the best base stats on paper and can admittedly land Trench Barrel, which can add damage and make it pretty good after getting a melee hit, but it's a little too situational around ammo. It's very visually cluttered when you're playing, and it has the issues of that low base damage dealing 16 to 17 again. Overall, another D tier in the grand scheme of PvP shotguns. Let's talk about our precious Retold Tale. This is the one everyone screamed about when aggressives lost Quick Draw. I'll remind you though, Quick Draw loses its effects after 1 second. The handling on this thing is 27 to 59. Again, I feel like it's a missed opportunity on Bungie's behalf when this window looks basically the same as an Astral Horizon. There's no reason for you to need to use a precision. I point that out because this archetype will show 19 to 20 on screen for damage, which means you need 10 out of those 12 pellets to secure a kill on most Guardians. I can absolutely say with the utmost confidence that you will notice a difference when you only need to hit 9 pellets versus 10. The one really nice thing about this shotgun is that it can roll snapshots. So let's say that quick draw perk does wear off, so you do feel super snappy when ADSing your gun. And that's really crucial on a shotgun because aiming down sights tightens your pellet spread, which helps you try and get as many pellets hit out of the 12. We really struggled with this one because the God roll definitely feels better than the CQC, but it still can't compete to a Felwinters, especially if you're rocking something like Ophidians or Dragon's Shadow or even Heart of Inmost Light to try and keep surplus going as much as possible. Ultimately, we ended up breaking the A tier and slotting the Retold Tale in A-. Retrofuturist. This is a lightweight shotgun reintroduced from year one. It's pretty similar to the CQC on paper, but there's something about it that just doesn't perform well for us. I honestly can't put my exact finger on it, but the one thing that annoys me is when you compare the two, the ability to land a god roll on this shotgun is exponentially harder in comparison to the CQC because of the extra perks per column. It also has this weird gunskin thing going on where you need to aim slightly different than the CQC. Like, you remember when Felwinters came out and no one really knew exactly how to aim with it, especially with that ornament? I'm just not a fan. Thresh is pretty neat now that they fixed it in PvP, so whenever you get a kill, if you have this perk on, you actually get extra super, and I have a whole video talking about how much if you're interested. But ultimately, Retro squeezed out a C tier ranking. Next up is... oh, we recognize this skin, don't we?
He's one!
How did you get here? Hey! Something's up with... yeah, I'm trying to review non-sunset shotguns. Take it out of the list. Stupid camera crew must have messed that up. Anyways, back on track here. We have the all-new Riiswalker. I'm probably saying that wrong too. It's from Iron Banner. And sadly, I know the token system was busted at release, but I was lucky enough to hop on an account with ridiculous perk selections. When this gun dropped, people went kind of nuts because it can roll with Iron Reach, which boosts your range like a massive amount. The excitement was the fact that you could have a pretty quick RPM shotgun in a lightweight archetype that matches the range of a precision shotgun. Like, I'm talking 90 plus. And I think this is a good time for me to take a quick intermission and explain a statement that I keep hearing about shotguns having some sort of range cap. People tend to claim that there's this invisible limit where getting extra range doesn't matter, and I really need to clarify this. So let me get out my trusty chalkboard. We all know that the stat bar for something like range goes from 0 to 100. Well, a long time ago, range really mattered on shotguns, and the main reason was because the cone of your shotgun was tied to that stat. For example, if you had a low range shotgun roll, your pellet spread would be pretty big. And then if you went and got an extremely high range roll of that same shotgun, your pellet spread would actually be a lot tighter. And then one day they explicitly modified the way the range stat works on shotguns specifically. So today, if I compared a really low range lightweight shotgun versus a really high range lightweight shotgun, the pellet spread size wouldn't actually be different. They'd be identical. This is one major reason why people stopped chasing range as much as they used to on shotguns. The second reason people believe there's this theoretical range limit on shotguns is the fact that you're limited by pellet RNG anyways. The shotgun pellets go in an outward angle, so if I'm standing right next to someone, it doesn't really matter because I'm gonna hit every pellet. But as soon as they're further away, the stats on my gun don't really matter if the pellets are so spread out that I'm only gonna hit like 5 out of 12. People seem to think that, well, if the pellet spread is gonna get so bad after a couple of meters, then what does adding range even do? So if my 50 range lightweight is dealing max damage at that distance of pellet RNG, then does adding a whole bunch more range to the mix really do anything? Like, it'll obviously push out that damage drop off by quite a bit, but is it even worth it if I'm not hitting the pellets? All of this makes sense, right? But I actually want to squash this myth a little bit. I can absolutely tell the difference between a max range Astral and an absolute bare minimum range Astral. Same thing on a lightweight shotgun, same thing on a precision shotgun. I think the reason is because pushing out your range stat also pushes out your aim assist cone, which helps you hit additional pellets regardless. All I've come to in conclusion is that range is not as important as it once was. What I mean by that is if you have 2 rolls of a weapon and they're within plus or minus 10 to 15 range, go with the one that has higher handling. But if you're comparing 2 shotguns that have a difference of 20 range on them within the same archetype, you'll absolutely notice the difference. The perfect roll on this thing can keep up with the Retold Tale because after that 1 second debuff on quick draw, it has an insane handling coupled with a large enough range drop off distance to reliably clean people up if they're at all weak. It can also 2-tap a full health guardian from really far away, and that's all thanks to the damage drop off distance being so much bigger. What the f? With the right playstyle, this thing earned an A-, but still can't consistently save you like an aggressive can due to the fact that it's dealing that 18 to 19 instead of 22 to 23. Okay, the 11th shotgun is the first in, last out. We got ourselves another slug. If you caught the aim assist on the other 2 slugs we've already talked about, they both had 60 aim assist or more, which is so important on a 1-hit precision weapon. Why on earth they gave this one 27 aim assist is beyond me. I don't really understand if it was an accident or what. I will admit it's a clutch gun for PvE when it comes to double swapping like on Deep Zone Crypt, but with respect to Crucible, I better not catch you using this thing out there. D tier ranking from Appa and I. Wishbringer, another rapid fire archetype, which you're probably waiting for me to toss it into the D tier. But actually, this one kind of stands out compared to the other two. Out of the rolls that I tried, I was reminded at how incredible opening shot is on a shotgun. I absolutely hate that rapid fires have low handling for some reason, but I will say when I used a god roll Wishbringer, it was actually keeping up fairly fine with a well-rolled Retrofuturist, for example. We ended up rating this one C tier though, given the archetype state in the current meta. Toil Trouble, you sneaky son of a... This is an aggressive archetype, dealing 22s and 23s for pellet damage. It can roll both threat detector and snapshot. For those that haven't watched my quick draw versus the world video, I explained how insane threat detector is. When enemies are within 15 meters of you, it'll boost your handling and stack up to 2 times based on how many people. Admittedly, when no one's around and the perk isn't active, it's a super sluggish shotgun and I hate it. But if someone goes to catch me off guard when I'm not paying attention, the perk will be active when I need to react. And it's crazy because it's a percentage modifier. Literally one stack can make it feel like it's adding 30 to 40 handling. If there's 2 people within that 15-meter radius, it can make a 30 handling shotgun feel like quick draw. But the real drawback in my opinion is that it actually feels super staggering when you go from mega slow to mega fast all the time back and forth throughout a match. And there's really only that one absolute perfect roll. There's no adept version, and it's really just not a winner in terms of base stats. Either way, this thing is an A+ if you get lucky with your roll, and I do admit the sights are super clean on it. 4th Horseman, get out of here, bro. This thing is hilarious and kind of fun to meme with, but I don't know. It shoots even faster than when I don't wear a... never mind. That's literally the exotic perk. It's called Thunderer. Weapon rate of fire is increased significantly and fires full auto. Each shot does do more damage, which is kind of neat, but it also adds more to the spread. Go ham with this thing in PvE, but don't you dare walk into PvP with this unless you're doing it with some buddies just for the memes. D tier in the rankings. Okay, thanks, okay, bye. Hey, look at this. Castle using a raid weapon. That means I actually did the raid, you guys. I got super lucky and have an unbelievable heritage roll. This slug shotgun is a beast. I had so much fun using it. The handling is off the charts high. It can achieve 100 range if you want, 90 handling if you want. It has the highest slug aim assist with 68. Mine landed with moving target, boosting it another 10 aim assist. Then you slap on an ADS mod, which also adds 10 for a total of 88 aim assist on a slug shotgun. I'd love to see what the hipfire perk does for this thing, considering they gave that a pretty solid buff in the recent patch notes, but I couldn't get my hands on one. All good though. Using an Icarus mod on this thing, having slide shot in this thing to boost your range even more if you have a high handling roll, it just feels great, and I personally enjoyed it a little bit more than the Chaperone. S tier all the way. Prophet of Doom. This one's a precision archetype dealing 19s and 20s on screen. The handling window is nothing to write home about. And the worst part is that this thing can't even roll solid perks. It sucks because I actually love the aesthetic of this gun, but it fails big time in comparison to the Retold Tale for PvP. Short and bitter, but it ultimately ends up being a C tier. The perk options almost drove it to D tier, but it does have that pellet damage advantage. Sojourner's Tale? I don't know. This is a new one from Splicer as well. It lands in the slug category. It's really interesting because if you catch the perk combo of moving target plus opening shot, it's like a hot knife through butter. That's weird, but I'd rate this thing A tier. However, just like the first and last out, Bungie decided to drop this thing with super low aim assist. It's only got 35, and other slugs out there, again, can roll with 60 plus. When you don't have moving target opening shot, you can really feel that lack of aim assist. I almost compare it to how I really like the Sunshot as a hand cannon, but it just feels so slippery when you compare it to something like a Hawkmoon or a Dire Promise, where those ones feel sticky, especially on a controller. The new perk Tunnel Vision is pretty incredible, and that helps a ton, but only after a kill, so we ended up placing this one in the C tier for the slugs. Let me know what you guys think though. Okay, right, another new one that I had a blast trying out several different versions. The Found Verdict dropping from the new Vault of Glass 2.0. This thing is very special. My first impression was actually nothing crazy spectacular because it just kind of felt like Felwinters except no shot package. And then I realized that was just because it was a super bad roll. After being lucky enough to try more from the community in the Discord, which by the way, if you're looking to join a group to find people to play with, we have nearly 3,000 members now and we welcome many more. So the link is down in the description if if you want to join us. Back to my point though, this thing is like a better version of the Astral Horizon, but in the energy slot. Better base aim assist, a better base handling window, better base range. If you get a decent roll on this thing, imagine Felwinters, except you're trading shot package for 30 more handling. When I was able to use the roll that I did, I could use it on any build. I wasn't restricted to handling exotics, and opening shot made it worth it for losing that shot package. I seriously recommend raiding and getting this thing, and come on, look at that barrel length, baby. Absolutely S tier. And if you didn't get the meme, barrel length influences your one-hit kill distance. Next up is Xenoclast. If anyone from Bungie is listening, please, please, please stop making guns have massive perk pools. This shotgun has 12 options in the third and fourth column. I decided to do some math, and let's say you wanted a specific god roll on this thing. The probability of getting it is 1 in 6,048. That's just too difficult for me to even care about the shotgun itself. As a lightweight and such extreme difficulty in obtaining what you wanted, we rated this one D tier overall. Slug time with the Blasphemer. You're a pretty neat looking gun, pal. Solid aim assist, nice to play with, doesn't feel quite as good as the Chaperone or Heritage, but perk options are solid. Not a billion of them like we just discussed with Xeno, and overall we gave this one a slight edge over Bonechiller. Really good A tier option for the slug team if you have one. Okay, I feel like we're missing some, aren't we? Oh, hell nah! Get out of here, you trash can. What about these two? Hilarious shotgun categories for sure. I've shared plenty of laughs with my friends using the good old tractor cannon, but these are power weapons, which I guess leaves us the one mutant of the family, hey? What on earth do we do with Duality? This was one of the coolest concepts for a weapon that I've seen. When you hip fire, it's a spread shotgun. If you ADS, it's a slug shotgun. Of course, if your gamer chair provides you godlike aim, this is the definition of perfection, because you can one-hit anyone from ridiculous ranges, but if someone catches you off guard up close, where aiming down sights, decreasing your FOV is a bad thing, you just hip fire them to kill them. When firing from the hip, it follows that precision archetype, which will deal 19 to 20 damage per pellet. This obviously holds it back from being S tier in that regard from what we've discussed compared to aggressives, but this thing is special, it's different. It feels like it has this intrinsic Icarus too, like the spread is super consistent, even in the air. It also feels like it has better damage drop-off range. Like the amount of times that someone is a little bit weak and you can finish them off with this thing, even compared to its buddy Retold Tale, it's just better. The 80 plus handling with the dexterity and ADS mods also gives it that quick draw rating. From a slug perspective, it's no Shappy with Roadborne, but it still has damn near the same kill range at base. So even though within its individual regards it's like an A tier for both of those, we ended up rating this thing A+. I honestly believe this thing has a much higher skill gap than people realize, and it can be S tier, but we're labeling it A+ because by nature, we like to ADS our weapons when we're shooting at someone. And unless you main slugs or use them quite regularly, this thing is truly less viable for most folks, especially if anyone is new to the game. It would never do as well with this as they would with some of the other ones out there. Making this video was super fun because it made me realize how much I actually appreciate this thing, and I think I'm going to spend more time with it to climb that skill gap. That's it, folks. If you want to sub to the channel, you could sub to the channel. If you disagreed with everything or you hate me, you could sub to this channel and then come and comment on the next video telling me if you agree or disagree with that as well. Either way, it's the end of this one. I hope you have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Sub to Apathetic.